Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, it feels a bit like that. Yeah, so so I do.
Hello, thank you very much for coming on to join us. I am absolutely delighted to be introducing Hina, who I'm sure you all know already, because she has been, in her role as president, really working on helping people to get connected. It's been absolutely wonderful. I've been able to take part in the online teach meets, and I know that many other people have been involved with those. All the idea of connecting people. But also, it's not just work on connecting people that Hina's been doing. She's also been involved in the report, which if you haven't already read it, please do. The Geography for Everyone. It's such a powerful report, which I think you were co-author. I think she played. I'm looking over now to Alistair, and she was an important person in the report. So yeah, absolutely fantastic with this little work on making geography accessible to people, connecting people, and I am very excited to hear what Hina has to say in her lecture. So thank you very much, and over to you. Thank you. Pretty hard waiting all day long to do this. Just to introduce myself a bit, to tell you the story of me becoming interested in geography, before I talk about the importance of connected geographies and what I think is important in the teaching of geography. So, just in case you don't know, a few people won't, I am a gold standard geography teacher in a wonderful school. I do have other responsibilities. I have been head of department for our children. I've been head of key stage since, but I moved schools for the school that I'm now at, and I am rights effective lead and diversity lead. You'll see that come up in what I talk about as well. And I am a chair of governors of small primary schools, so I do feel I have some primary school understanding as well of what happens in geography. So growing up, I'm a London suburban girl. I've been in Essex for quite a long time, Kate, but I'm not an Essex girl. But I grew up in suburban London, in Edgware, at the end of the Northern Line. My parents are first generation immigrants. So for them, working hard, providing a good life was key. So my life pretty much revolved around work and school, home and school, and the extended family, of which I have so many, one of which you're going to hear from tomorrow from morning's keynote. And so for me, the sense of place that I had was of suburbia, because that's where I grew up, that's where I went to school. However, we did have outings, and key places for me growing up, these are not my pictures, because I don't know where all my childhood pictures are got, which were digital back then. But Alderman Country Park, which is now home to Winnie Pooh, and Wellington City were two places that I remember really enjoying going to at the weekends. It was very much part of the other places that I knew, along with Southend-on-Sea and Margate. I know I was going to end up working in Southend. I always preferred Margate though, because Margate had proper sand, which Southend doesn't. So I know as a child, but also I realise now it was further away to get to. But those times were precious, they were somewhere different, so I wasn't used to. However, I've got family in Kenya. So for me, other place was Kenya. It was the excitement. My first trip when I was 6, and I went for a couple of family weddings. And my memories of Kenya, it was just that very different place to where I lived. Pictures of me are from when I was 17, I believe, with my brother, and they are in Mombasa. So I've done safari, I've done that. But growing up, family would visit from Kenya, family would visit from India. I used to love going to the airport to collect them. And going to the airport when I could see the planes. I also started at some point to take a notebook and write down different destinations that flights were going to, or flights were coming from, and then I'd go and look up where in the world they were. So I think that was sort of the start of me thinking about the enjoyment of geography. Along with that is my religion. You may not have heard of Jainism, but one of the core principles of Jainism is about non-violence, it's about kindness to all beings, it's about looking after the earth and everything that is on it. And you may or may not be religious, but to me that was very much an important part of growing up. We're vegetarian, but we do believe in looking after everything. And that really embeds itself in geography, doesn't it? Like the idea of sustainability, looking after the earth, making sure that it's there for other people, the kindness to all beings, in terms of our human connections as well. So year 6 was school journey time. I know my oldest daughter didn't get to experience this because of COVID, but it is one of those key moments that we have in primary school where you get to go on your school journey. And mine was to the Lake District, which for me was just absolutely awe-inspiring. I've never been to this place. I was not a very fit child. I was not very to PE or anything like that. So climbing up Helvellyn was pretty impressive for me. Actually getting to the top, surviving, and getting back down again. But it was amazing as an 11-year-old. And you've got to be thinking about, why do these exist? Why haven't we got mountains back in London? Why did we have to travel all this way to find these things of beauty? And it's just that amazing,
really vivid memories of going through and seeing the rocks, which look like other things, like someone was educated to play the piano, for example. Looked at it, was obviously like his other things that we did there as well, but the geography really stood out for me. And then going into secondary school, I was really lucky. My school's got its own field centre, the school I went to, in Dodhead St Andrew, and we would go in groups of 15 for a week, and we'd go in year 8, 9 and 10. And year 8 was when I first really remember doing this fieldwork and going on an orienteering mission with the maps, West Maps. And my teacher at the time, I wasn't a geography teacher because we did all sorts of event there, and I was getting this OS map and I was going for it. She said, "You must go like walking, orienteering in your spare time." I'm like, "No, I don't." She said, "You look like you were acting like you use this forever." Apparently I was doing maps. So that was quite nice. And really, really do remember that thing. And that's when I started really thinking about that kind of geography. Actually, this is a subject I quite like, I quite enjoy this. And in year 10 of the field trips, we sort of based around work experience. So we went off and helped in some state home for a little bit. But the bit I loved was Brownsea Island. Have you heard of Brownsea Island? It's the Scout Island. Or it was certainly at some point. But we built gabions. We actually filled the pages full of gabions on the beach, and we actually created those. So every time I teach about coastal management, I remember this particular event happening. That's really cool. It's time to really think much of it, but thinking back, pretty important thing. So, this is my secondary school that I went to, Henry Barnet, tops of league tables all the time. I think I helped with that bit, but it does, got some going all the time. And year 9, I got a new geography teacher, Mrs. McIsaac Paul, and I think she's the reason why I decided I wanted to teach geography, and I decided that at a fairly young age. She was just a straightforward teacher, but she was clearly passionate about her subject. And she taught it in a way that just helped us to understand it really well, to embed it, to make it feel real to me. And she definitely did sort of make connections with our lives at that point. Looking back, that was I think the thing that got me to wanting to do geography. She organised a trip to Iceland that I went on in sixth form. Again, you know, your first trip to Iceland, you never forget your first trip to Iceland. Just one of those places. And I remember all of that. But then during A-level geography, going into A-level, this is the first time where I realised that my background, I'm East African Asian in ethnicity, girls from my background don't do geography. We had a lot of people coming into sixth form, we became much more diverse in sixth form. And everybody else with my skin colour was wanting to do medicine, dentistry, so they're doing sciences, they may have done economics and maths, they might have been looking at becoming accountants or lawyers, maybe not many. But you don't do geography, that's just a bit weird for somebody from my background. And I would say that South Asian girls are probably quite trailblazing in their being in medicine, etc., really, but in other subjects it wasn't really a thing. So that's when I started to feel a little bit, I'm doing something a bit different here. And that even came from within family a little bit, but certainly from people that my parents knew. My parents were always very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. It didn't matter what I wanted to do. My dad's incredibly proud to tell people that I'm a geography teacher. But the society meant you don't do geography. So that's what I started thinking, yeah, you know what, this is the thing. And that also came across at university. While I found my people, I wasn't a well-liked person at secondary school, I found my crowd at university, met my husband at university, but I definitely stood out as a diverse person doing geography. I switched to geography and economics, so I did really well at A-level economics, bit of, you know, connections there definitely, but I do wonder why I did that. Really, I should have stuck to just geography. Because macroeconomics is hard. But it gave me the opportunity to do environmental economics, which is brilliant. Economics is a team sport, so you know, linking that cultural geography into economics. So there were some really, really good modules that connected the two beautifully. And it was the first time that I came across cultural geography and geography of place, which is now obviously embedded in A-level, but it wasn't when I did A-level, but I remember it may well have been, but it wasn't as clear cut. So cultural geography, Doreen Massey's great, isn't it? You actually get to pick what you want to. So I knew I was going to be a teacher, and at first I wanted to be a primary school teacher, but then I started thinking, yeah, I really like geography. And I wanted to be a geography teacher thought it'd be good to see it, but it had to be geography because of the subjects that we get to cover. So I'm going to pass over to you for the thinking for a moment, and I'm hoping this works. If it doesn't, I mean, Emma, because it's her idea. If you could scan the QR code if you want to, there's a link, there's a sort of code if you go to Menti, and just a couple of words. Why are you in geography education? Doesn't matter what kind of geography education, you're in geography education.
You're going to answer why you're your PhD?
I think I know how to share this. You always want me to share that. Or open it up so it's like, so can't go out to do that. Where's the change now? I'm just going to do this. So yeah, I love the fact that passion is up there. So the school I work at, the students really value passion. They love when their teachers are passionate about their subject. They're niche or subject geek, but that's confident. And they like being geeks as well, which is even better. Obviously, if you ever get a chance to work in a school where they just want to learn, all of them, it's just amazing. Yeah, connections are like that, holidays in North Wales, makes you want to teach. You do have those moments, don't you, where something just makes you want to do it. Understand the world, agency, I love that. Because it's the best, yeah, absolutely it's the best, nothing's better. Obviously, I'm biased. So, to my theme. So, before I go to my theme. So, just a little bit about my teaching journey. First 2 years of teaching, I was at one particular school, and I think survival was the name of the game. It obviously depends on what kind of school you're in, but just that learning to manage class. My first year of teaching, I was teaching 5 different subjects. If I can remember more, I was teaching geography, business, science, citizenship, RE, I think that's it. It was just, I was just thrown in the deep end. It was pretty difficult. I left that school after 2 years, and my second school was a different world. You know, there was that support, and it gave me a chance to develop as teachers. It was a big school. We had a lot of geography teachers. One of which, if you were here in Emma's lecture this morning, she actually mentioned Barry Howard, because I worked at the school that Emma went to after she went there. And Barry and his outdoor education, absolutely amazing. Then I could develop as a teacher. In terms of pedagogy as well as subject knowledge, I have got teaching geography, sort of looked at websites, I investigated a little bit more around topics I was learning about. It was very much about my work in my classroom and in my school. Picked up other roles along the way, got really involved in internationalism and working with schools in other countries. And that connection to me was really, really important. But what was super important about that connection to me was not we must help schools in poorer countries, which some schools do. Mine was, what are our similarities? What can we learn from each other? And what are our differences? And how can we work with those? And we've had some amazing connections. A school in South Africa that I've been and visited twice, that we were super connected to, in one of the townships outside Cape Town. And we very much worked on children's hopes and aspirations that were similar in both schools, as well as looking at the challenges that the different children faced. And those connections are super really important. And I know there are quite a few teachers in the room that do that work. We've had sessions today of connections with schools and other places. And I think that's something that we can all develop. But those are the kinds of things I was doing, along with managing the job department at various points. But then over the last few years, really started thinking about geography a bit more widely. And this is where I've started to get involved in things. So through COVID, getting involved in the geography Twitter world, taking part in teach meets, starting to get invited to do things. I think the first proper thing that I did was a GTE online panel, which then resulted in a teaching geography article. I think, do you know what? I think I've got something to say that people might want to hear. And even if there's 2 or 3 people that don't think the way I do and I can get them thinking about something new, well, that's something. Because we, in our own world of teaching, we think that the amazing things we do are done by everybody, but they're not, which is why we're here in situations like conferences, to learn from each other. But if you haven't ever put this conference session forward, consider it, because you have got something to share that other people don't do. Even if it seems really normal to you, we still want to hear about it, because you might find that there's people in that room that have never done it before, and you go, oh, I should try that, even if you do it every day. So please do, take that plunge. Because my first conference I presented at was in 2022. Isn't that long ago? And I brought students to that conference, and it was just that amazing feeling of hearing from them. And a lot of people had never considered to do that. And many people think. And then I started thinking, this is where we start thinking about why are we teaching? Who are we teaching? Do we include them in what we're doing? So connected geographies. Our subject is all about synopticity. We want our students to think synoptically. We want them to link different ideas together. That's the beauty of our subject. Those links between people and place, how different human actions impact on the environment, how the environment impacts on human actions, because it goes both ways, and what that develops into is really important. I teach EduCAS for GCSE, love EduCAS. One of the things that the phrase they point, which I hadn't really heard before, this idea of chains of reasoning. The fact that one thing leads to another, thinking about socio-economic, environmental, synoptic thinking, well before A-level is so important. It becomes a bigger thing at A-level, but we're doing it all the time. And, at primary school, they're thinking synoptically without realising it constantly, with the cross-curricular work that they're doing. So it is the core element of our subject. How else do we make those connections if we don't think about all the different elements we bring in? And I don't think any other subject does it the way we do it. I think it's our USP who thinks synoptically. Sustainability, again, really important part of our lives now. Where else are they going to really learn about the physical and human components and how they can work together to be able to continue? And this idea of different environments, people living in extreme environments or not, or things that are going to become extreme, this whole concept of climate change ambassadors going out and helping with this work. People go, oh, don't teach enough climate change. Well, yes, we do. in geography we do, it's got to become a wider thing, but at the moment, in most schools, they're not getting it anywhere else. It's a bit concerned about languages. And when year 11s have come to me the last few weeks, it's part of our speaking, we have to learn about different topics in our languages. And there's stuff about the ozone, the whole of the ozone layer causing climate change. Okay, I need to speak to the head of languages about this. It's a bit scary, but I do like the job, so I will speak to her. But that's come from somewhere which they've learned that from. That's a bit worrying. So, like, luckily that geography year 11s know what to do with it, but if you haven't chosen geography at GCSE, you might have forgotten that we taught you what climate change was back in year 9. So the sustainability element, I know we've had lots of sessions today which do look at this. I think the climate ambassadors is tomorrow, so yeah, really important thing to look at. And then global citizens. This is one of the main reasons that I love teaching geography. We have to shape those global citizens. We have to get children into adults that think about the world and how different elements of the world interact and how the actions of some people can have consequences on other people in other places. Teaching the school that I was at before the one I'm at now, very made over money area, very right-wing area, and you get children talking about migration in a really negative way. Because that's what they've heard on the media, that's what they've heard from their parents. As soon as you start explaining to them the benefits of migration and the reasons why people might migrate in a way that is dangerous, then they're like, oh, hang on, actually, our thinking's wrong. Why haven't we learned this anywhere else? It's because they've been listening to the media and possibly conversations at home. You know, we talk about the second world jobs. You explain to them exactly what's happening, and they understand. You go, oh, okay. And you want them to keep thinking that way. The same with impact on the environment and ecosystems and how things work together, interdependence. It's not something they've really got an idea about until you explain it. So if we are to make the world a better place, we're not going to hit every single student every single day, but we need to chip away at this idea of the understanding of different parts of the world, how they connect, and our impact on them, to ensure that we have kind, supportive, action-making children into adults. And I'll talk more about that in a minute with writing approach in schools. And then connections with outside of the geography teaching community. And there's so many people here these 2 days doing sessions that are from other places. We have the Migration Museum, we've got the Environment Agency, we've got tour companies. There's all sorts of people who deep into geography. My husband's a transport planner, you see him. He's a geography, he did do a geography degree, but his work is in geography. And there are lots and lots of people out there who use geographical skills and knowledge in their work and don't necessarily realise it. And we've really got to be thinking about futures for our students, and I know we talk about green skills, but in general, what skills can geography provide them that they're going to take into future jobs? And we should be trying to get people in to talk to our students from different agencies. I know the Environment Agency is put together a careers work, the Careers for GIS website. There's other places like that where you can get information to, because you say, oh, I don't want to do geography, but then you talk about the kind of things you can do with it, and they go, oh, actually, quite interesting, those careers. So it's really important that we think about people that do geography that don't call it geography, because I think they're really valuable in what we can get from them. So just a little bit about, I'm a secondary teacher, so a lot of what I'm saying is coming from a secondary level. But primary education and geography, this is where the awe and wonder starts. I think I might be quoting Hina with awe and wonder, but awe and wonder, it's so important. Those of you that have ever taught early years or teach early years, you are amazing people. I did a fieldwork session with early years. I'm never doing that ever again. I mean, the end product is brilliant, but I don't want to be asked if I've ever met that answer. But honestly, if you teach early years, you have the patience of saints, you're amazing, amazing people. But the cross-curricular elements that geography can be everywhere. So my youngest daughter, she's 12 now, she's also here. When she was in year 5, she did a topic of tropical rainforests. And she learned about the structure of the rainforest in art. They did some reading around rainforests in English. And I love that. I love the fact that you can do that at primary and you can just bring in all these different elements. I went into field work with them, we did some footpath erosion stuff, and then in maths, they drew the graphs and analysed the graphs. So you can do that. And, you know, I'd be quite happy to be a specialist primary school geography teacher. I don't want to do those subjects. I'd love to do that someday. Because, actually, yeah, again, how should I think about everything? I can't do it. Forest schools and beach schools. I didn't know about beach schools until this weekend. I love that concept. Like, make the most of the nature that is where you are. Have you not heard about beach? You think, how have I not heard about beach schools? But yeah, if you've got the opportunity to use your own space and place. And this is the thing with primary. They start off by just learning about their very own little bit of geography when they are very young. And they build out from there. And that's a great thing to do. The pictures are from a school like Oxford in Hockley. And they're not a member of the Geographical Association, which I am doing something about. But the geography there is absolutely amazing. He's got a field work in every year group. And he said to me, I haven't got enough field work. I need to have more. And I was like, you've got more than a lot of primary schools do. It was absolutely stunning. I'll just put a little examples of, this is from their website, of things that they do. And the passion, because he's got a passionate geographer there on the staff. And internationally, the curriculums that they've got, very much based on inquiry, are absolutely amazing. Briley had been working in Peru, certainly what her daughter, who's 6, is going to do, that's in geography. And she's just outstanding. There's so much scope for that inquiry there. And I think as secondary teachers, we need to really go and look at what our primary schools do in geography. Because sometimes, you know, I know there's been people in the past who said, well, they don't really learn much, do they? But actually, I think part of the issue is this is not a slight on primary teachers at all. They don't always have time for retrieval. So they've done it beautifully, amazingly well in year 4 or 5, but they don't remember it in year 7 because there's no more time and opportunity to go back to it. But, you know, the work I've seen in school that I'm chair of governors of, some of their work on mountains and things, just outstanding. The depth they go into, absolutely brilliant. So, you know, if you haven't ever, as a secondary teacher, gone to see a primary school look at their geography, please do it. It's so important. And then higher education. I've used one particular institution because I asked Alistair if I could take quotes on theirs. But in general, if you're in higher education, or initial teacher training, which is also higher education, then the scope of what can be done. I love it when I have 6th form students who want to go and do geography at university, all related courses, and they talk to me about open days they've been to and how do they decide which universities they want to go to. Because there is such a rich amount of knowledge in our universities in different courses, depending on obviously what different people specialise in. And there's that absolute love of geography. And one of my students last year has gone off to do physical geography at York. She really sat down with me and went through the different places, looked at when they did field work, looked at what physical geography they focused on before she worked out where she went. And it was so nice to be part of that journey. I taught her in years 7, 9, 10, 12 and 13. She moved to my school after I moved there as well. And just to know that she just kept on with the geography, absolutely amazing. But another student doing international relations, again, she's talking to me about the geography that was involved in what she's doing. And she's at Cambridge doing international relations. And so I think, you know, that's one of the absolute joys you have if you teach A-level, is thinking about what they're going to go do into the future and the connections they're going to make with geography there. So, how do you think about these things? Do you think about, well, we talked about purpose of teaching here. When you're writing your curriculum, what is in your head? Those of you that have done that so far, I know all of you won't be in that position yet. Who is taken into account? Are we just being bound by the specifications that we have at certain stages? I know that doesn't apply to all stages. Are we just doing what it says in, I know academies have got some control over this now, but if you do have autonomy, what are you actually thinking about? Do you know your students? There's been a couple of different things said over the course of yesterday today about what's important. Our local place and them knowing their place, or actually knowing about the wider world. And it's a fine balance, actually, because there was, I can't remember where it was said, but somebody said about if they can't, how are they going to connect the geography if they're not connected to their own geography? But on the other hand, we've got students that love geography because of that awe and wonder in places they don't know. So it's a really fine line to be able to hit both. And that's where we understand the background of our students is really, really important. Because one school's fine line will be different to another school's. A couple of quotes that mean quite a lot to me. So obviously, Margaret Roberts, Margaret over here. The idea of meaning making for those students and connecting their everyday experiences. And then student perspective. This over the last few years is really something that is so important to me. The actually listening to our students. And I'm at a school where student voice is strong. And we have subject captains at sixth form who support the teachers in terms of running extracurricular activities. They go, oh, can we do this competition? They will speak to students about their experiences in a subject, and all of that is fed back and we work with it. And that's really positive because if they haven't got the chance to have a voice, then why should they engage with their education? And this is why they want to have a voice. They want to be represented. Whether that be the child who has never been outside of their essential OS square, or whether it's a child who has always lived in another country as a first generation migrant, they want to be represented. We want to challenge stereotypes. Sarah Larson's session of misconceptions this morning, very well attended. Stereotypes are misconceptions. We've got to challenge them. And then I'm going to touch a little bit on the whole idea of colonialism, because it is relevant. We're not going to be able to rewrite a whole curriculum at the moment, but there's things we can do. Just going back to voice, right to go to school. Does anyone, right to go to school? Hands up if you are or have been. It's an amazing initiative from UNICEF, and the idea behind it is based on rights. Children knowing their rights, making the most of their rights, and campaigning for others to access their rights. And the Children's Rights Convention, some of those key rights are about the right to a voice, the right to celebrate your own culture, the right to have your own identity, the right to make the most of your education, the right to be safe. All of that comes from their geography, especially when we're looking at other people's rights. Really, really important. For decolonialism, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it is super important. Where did the discipline of geography come from? It came from white European men going and navigating the world to exert their power and take things from other places. I'm not going to apologise if you don't like me saying that, but it's true. The Royal Geographical Society was formed by men and did not allow women to be part of it. The Geographical Association was formed so that women had somewhere to be a part of. Obviously, the Royal Geographical Society isn't like that now, but there was still that embedded feeling, and there are films where it comes up. Paddington in Peru, for example, all men. It's a real thing. And if that's where the discipline of geography has come from, then, and it's been able to be like that for years, there's work to be done. And simple things can be done, some of you have seen this before, but this map is a European map. I've got the Peters projection in my classroom because it's a little bit more realistic. Just a little bit. So little changes like that are really important. Help students to connect better with place. They realise what it's like. I have done lots of sessions with training teachers and other people about how we can think about making changes to our teaching. So I'm not going to do that now, but one really important one for me is, again, understanding students and their backgrounds in the way that we teach them. There was a session this morning about pastoral care and geography. This comes up with that. we're talking about climate change. We need to have empathy and we need to think carefully about how we're phrasing things. And this came from a student of mine 4 years ago who talking about methane and rice production creating methane, and she's half Japanese. But this, I eat rice every day. I feel quite guilty about it. And I was like, what's the point? Hang on, I've got to really think about this, it's not fair. Like, you know, someone saying to me as a child, I was really about to fly. I've got family flying in and out of the country from other countries. What, do I never get to see them? You've got family members who have used a car as part of their job, but they have to make a living. So, you know, it's really important that we're mindful of our students and where they're coming from. So, student perspective to me is really important. So, I asked some of my students to record a little voiceover. I'm going to play you one of them. I've just got to change PowerPoint for it because I do not want to transfer over at the moment. This is Anishka, who is in my year 9 class, so she is 13. And last time I did this in played automatically, so.
Hi, my name is Anishka. I'm currently in year 9 and I wanted to share with you why I enjoy geography and why I picked it for my GCSEs. For me, geography is about understanding our world and how it actually works and understanding how the world is interconnected. Also, I think that it's really important that geography teaches about the environmental issues in the world right now because it kind of raises awareness and encourages maybe the next generation to take action and maybe promote sustainability to save our planet. Geography, for me, isn't just like a subject that teaches about the environment or the planet, but it also teaches skills such as critical thinking and can help me find solutions for challenges that I could face in my future. I picked geography because it combines my interests in nature, people, and the planet. Hi, my name is Anishka. I'm currently in year 9, and I wanted to.
So Anishka is, as I said, in year 9. She is doing geography. She will be doing geography GCSE. She has already said that she is going to do a job that involves geography. She's already made that decision. And all I asked her to do was do me a little voice note on why she is doing geography. That's all I asked her to do, and that's what she came up with. And hopefully, I can see she hasn't started year 8, and she's now, close to into year 9. But she loves geography, and she's explaining there why that is. And we really need to make sure we understand those things, because what we're doing in classrooms is part of what they think about a subject. So if you're instilling that awe and wonder from whatever age you're teaching, it really doesn't matter. If you're instilling that desire to know more, but understanding what connecting places, you're going to get that. Now, I also wanted some perspectives that weren't people that I teach. So I've got some that are from my eldest daughter's year 11 friends. So she did do me a voiceover for it, but she talks very fast. So I decided I'm just going to leave it there for a moment to read. Brooke is 15. Again, all she was asked to do, explain why you think geography is important. I'll give you a second to read that. And I haven't edited it at all. So Brooke, is still there? Might have died on me. Right, hopefully that's to work. Right, Brooke is a comprehensive year 11 student, and her thoughts. She's not doing A-level geography, but still having important thinking about geography. Two more. So Nada, who's got an Egyptian background, and Clemmie as well. Clemmie does also A-level geography. I don't think Nada does. But again, I'll just give you a moment to read those. But all three of them really thinking about that understanding of the world and the people of the world. Again, I've not edited it at all, this is completely their own words. So what I'd like you to just go away thinking from anything I've said, key takeaways. Please do think about your students. Think about what it is that is going to get them inspired about geography, but how's it going to be real to their world? What is going to actually make them feel like this subject is about me and for me? And that's it, that depends on the background of the students. So where I'm in a very diverse school, that's quite easy to do with other spaces and places. So for example, Bangladesh, we do talk about Bangladesh flooding, and I will have students in my class with Bangladeshi backgrounds, and they will start talking about what their families who live in Bangladesh have done to help with flood management. So I had one girl that said, oh, my grandparents have built an extra floor on their house, so that if there is flooding, they've got upstairs still. Another one said, well, my aunt's got a boat, because she lives in a village, so she's got a boat, so she can get about if it does flood. And there's all these little anecdotes that they like to share. The same with, we talked about Lagos in year 7, and the girls that have been to Nigeria quite recently, they love showing their photographs of where they've been in Lagos, and it really gives that contrast of place. So it's really important to make sure you're thinking about the students in front of you. And think about what you do well in the classroom. How are you connecting different elements of geography? And really think about sharing that with other people, because we're so good at learning from each other. It's a really important part of connection in geography and in geography teaching that we can do that. And as a community, we are amazing. I'm not going to thank individual people for all they do, because there's so many people, and I'd be terrified of missing somebody out. But there are so many groups of people, collectives, organisations, the volunteers within the GA, of which there are many, that are doing amazing work. But absolutely anyone can present at a conference and share what they do. And I really hope that you're taking a lot about connected geographies away over these 2.5 days. I'm actually quite gutted that I can't go and sit in one session, because there are so many amazing sessions that fit my theme beautifully, but I'm trying to get into as many as possible. And part of me wishes I could just go, do you know what, I'm just going to go to every session I want to go to. But there are so many amazing things out there. So I hope you've got something you can take away from what I've said. I hope this makes you really think about your teaching, the students that you teach. And if you're still here tomorrow, I hope you have a wonderful second full day. Thank you.